Welcome to footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Emory Hudson here with the man Tyler Merkovich, and this is the 2009 New York Jets team preview. Now, big news with the big guy in the Big Apple is Rex Ryan. How is he going to revamp that defense to get these guys after the quarterback in 09?
Well, Rex Ryan era has begun. Eric Mangini out. They were 8-3 until they lost 4 of their last 5. And in comes in the former Baltimore Ravens, the free agents. They bring in Bart Scott, linebacker, Jim Leonard, safety, and Marcus Douglas, who's going to start at defensive end. And he also brings along Mike Pettin, who's a defensive assistant under Ryan. He's now the defensive coordinator. So plus Bart Scott on the field being a leader and knowing that aggressive, blitz-crazed defense that Rex Ryan implements is going to help the transition over to the Jets a lot easier.
Now, the biggest thing in the 3-4 is the defensive line, because they actually do different things as opposed to the 4-3. What are the defensive line looking like this year? What is the defensive line looking like this year in New York?
Well, Marcus Douglas is going to probably start at defensive end, but Chris Jenkins in the middle, he's a nose tackle. He's 30 years old, still one of the best nose tackles in the league. And Sean Ellis, he's getting old. He's 32 years old. He had 7 sacks in his first 8 games, and then he only had 1 sack in the second half of the season. So they need some depth up there. I think that's actually a weakness on their defense, the front 3.
And the linebackers, with the addition of Bart Scott, they're looking to bring some leadership, some nastiness to that defense. How do the linebackers fare this year?
Oh, linebackers phenomenal. Speaking of linebackers, Calvin Pace is suspended the first 4 games for violating the anti-drug policy. He's in his second year out of Arizona with the Jets. Bart Scott, though, he's absolutely amazing. They got David Harris. I overlooked in the 2007 draft out of Michigan. He's absolute stud. And they brought in guys like Larry Izzo and Nate Harris, so hopefully they could pick up the pace for Calvin Pace.
For Calvin Pace, that's a big loss they have right there. The secondary can be considered a strength. I mean, with Darrelle Revis back there, I think the secondary is going to do well this year. How do you feel about that?
Well, Darrelle Revis, Pro Bowler last year. Loved him at Pitt, and he's absolutely lived up to his standards. But they pick up Lito Shepard out of Philadelphia, and they replace Abram Elam with him, which I think is an upgrade. I think Lito is going to thrive in this kind of system. And Dwight Lowery, in his second year out of San Jose State, he's improving. He's going to be great as a nickel, and he keeps getting better. So their cornerbacks are pretty solid.
And you know the biggest name in the offseason has been Mark Sanchez with that offense. He's expected to come in and be a savior. What do you think about the offense this year in New York?
Well, you know, Mark Sanchez, he's going to battle Kellen Clemens, but it looks like Sanchez is going to get the job. And what I like about Sanchez is mobility, escapability, and the way he could throw on the run. And it's going to make up for the inexperience at wide receiver they have, because they got Jericho Cotchery, who has made a name for himself over the year. But then after that, you're relying on guys like Brad Smith, David Clowney, and Chancey Stuckey, who knows if they have the ability to be number 2s. So they got a nice pass-catching tight end in Dustin Keller, which will probably help him out, second year out of Purdue. But otherwise, Sanchez is going to need to make up for the non-ability for these receivers to get open.
Sanchez and Keller are going to be best friends. Now, the offensive line protecting these guys, what do you see these guys doing?
Well, this is what they need to do to rely on to win games, is the running game and the offensive line. Nick Mangold, high IQ, great center at Ohio State. DeBrickashaw Ferguson is getting solid. You know, he's not lived up to number 4 pick overall, but he's still pretty solid at left tackle. Fanika's older, but he's a veteran leader, good locker room guy. And Damian Woody had a breakout season last year, and Brandon Moore at guard is improving, so that offensive line is solid. And Thomas Jones, you know, he's at the end. He's in the 3rd year of his 4-year contract. He's a little disgruntled, but that's why they drafted a guy named Sean Green out of Iowa. He's a Jersey kid, and they love this guy. They had him number 1 out of all those running backs in the draft, so he might make a move. But Leon Washington, he's explosive. He could take it the distance. And Tony Richardson, all he does is block for 1,000-yard rushers, so this is where their strength is on offense.
Consistency is the key. Speaking of Leon Washington, he heads up that phenomenal special teams unit. They let go Mike Nugent in the offseason. So what do you see the special teams looking like in New York this year?
Well, Leon Washington, explosive, can take it back. Punt returns, kick returns are going to need some out of that because their offense might be inept. So if they get those special teams touchdowns, it'll make up for that lack of scoring on offense. But Nugent's out this year, and Jay Feely's in. He made 24 out of 28 field goals last year. Their punter is a question mark, but when you have Leon Washington, it's always a threat. I think their special teams will be all right.
And they're going to need everything this year. There's a lot of excitement out here in New York. So the Jets fan base wants these guys to compete with the hated Patriots. And so how do you see the Jets finishing in that division with the new quarterback?
Well, assuming everyone stays healthy, who knows what'll happen. But I still think with their brutal schedule, they're going to finish third in the AFC East. Probably be around 500, but not make the playoffs.
Not make the playoffs. Fans in New York, you know they're not going to want to hear that. Thanks for tuning in to FootballGamePlan.com's NFL team preview. To view more team previews, check out our website, FootballGamePlan.com/NFL.